What's up, y'all? This is Brave, and I'm back for another review of the Belle Collective. This is Season 3, Episode 7, and the episode is titled, Let There Be Peace. Baby, let's get right into the review. So, we start off exactly where we left off, and that is with Sunjay having this conversation with So Gucci, or should I say Shantae. Within this conversation, I realized that there is nothing that So Gucci can say in this moment that Sunjay is not going to have a rebuttal. And I must say, I definitely agreed with Sunjay on a lot of the things that she said. Because Sunjay, she feels like So Gucci should have never went over there. If you knew you was going to have this attitude and you weren't going to talk to my mom and you saw that she was standing with somebody else, why go over there? If you knew you was going to act like this, don't be mad that you got hit a few times. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because So Gucci, you didn't have to go over there. Or you could have just said, hey, y'all, how hard would that be? Like, I'm sorry, I'm just not here for So Gucci making excuses. And I hate the fact that she keeps saying, like, oh my gosh, why would Selena act this way? Like, that's basically what she's trying to say, as if she's the only person who's acted out of pocket. Like, no. Selena ain't the only person who's acted out of pocket. You were as well. You came over with that energy. So don't even try it, So Gucci. And I honestly did appreciate the fact that Sunjay, she did not, result into the feelings of, oh, you know what, I'm just going to let you and my mom handle it. I'm out of it. You know how people try to be super neutral. Nope, take your stand. Say how you feel. You're an adult now. You're no longer a child. Say what you want to say, Sunjay. If you feel like, your mom has been quiet for a very long time and this was her first time speaking out, hey, it is what it is. But So Gucci, I don't know. Like, I thought I was going to like you, but I'm just seeing your true colors, girl. Now, I will say that Marie pretty much stayed out of it. She didn't try to chime in and voice her opinion. She just said that, she hopes that the family can come back together. Do I think that they're ever going to, really get close again? Possibly. Maybe. But I think it'll probably take them not being on TV for that to happen. Especially after hearing, So Gucci and JJ talk about how Selena wasn't around the girls and how he had to raise them and how So Gucci was doing their hair and all this stuff, basically downplaying these girls' mother. Yeah, I don't think that's going to sit right with them. So I feel like the family can probably come together when they're no longer on this show. But let's go ahead and move on because we have Tambra Cherie. She's at the radio station or whatever, and she lets us know that her and Damon aren't seeing eye to eye because she actually wants her space. I'm like, all right, could you break up with this man? Because I'm tired of seeing y'all make this linger on our TV screens longer than it has to. Nonetheless, she ends up going to meet with her manager so that way they can talk about her possibly doing a podcast. So he wants to get the ball rolling on that, and we learn that her and Quasi, they used to work together back in the day on the radio, and she feels like, they've built a lot together. And then they go on to talk about her and Damon and how Damon understands that she's growing and all of this jazz, right? But then she mentions how she was offended by his statement that basically all she do is sit in a chair all day. Now, I don't exactly know what he does for a living. I can't even remember. Was it work on houses or something? Nonetheless, when they were talking about how, she just has a job where she sits in her chair all day, her argument is that, she's changing people's lives and all of this stuff. But I feel like what he said was still kind of true. Like, you're not doing any type of physical labor. You're literally just talking, which is what you do on the everyday basis. Like, don't make it seem like your job is oh so difficult and hard. You've been doing it for years. Like, come on, Tambra. So now I feel like she's going to use that as her way to break up with Damon. Because she's going to make it seem like, he definitely tried to minimize who she is and what she does for a living. And this may be the cause of the breakup. And I'm just like, okay, if we're going to do that, let's speed this process up. Now, I thought that the scene was going to end there. That's not what happened. Quasi ends up asking her about her embryos and, has she got that process going? And what stuck out to me was the fact that they kept saying embryos, because she was like, yeah, I do still have them in the freezer. I'm not going to sell them or anything. I plan on using my embryos. And I'm like, well, who's the daddy? Because to have an embryo, you have to have a man's sperm and your eggs. That's what forms an embryo. Do you just have your eggs in the freezer? Or who your baby daddy, girl? Because you ain't ever mentioned that you and old boy actually did this whole process. So maybe she just misspoke. Alright, y'all, so let's move on to Marie Monroe. Miss Methadone Clinics. So she ain't in a clinic right now. She's actually seeing her therapist. So this is actually the first visit, and, the therapist just wants to know, who is Marie? So she goes on to talk about how, she is Marie Monroe, and growing up in her household, like, her family was very loving, like, she saw her parents be affectionate, all those things. However, at one point she learned that her mom had an addiction to marijuana, and later the mom actually needed a higher substance, and she started lacing her marijuana with cocaine. So this is basically the progression of how Marie got to this point in her life. And once she mentioned how, like, her dad had to, like, comb her hair or whatever, and at first he would pretty much make excuses for the mom being completely MIA. At some point, the father had to, admit that there was something going on with the mom. And unfortunately, her appearance started to change. So the kids knew that, like, something ain't right, because mom don't look right no more. Now, I must say that this is a very sad situation, especially considering Marie had to grow up pretty much in her, like, teenage years and stuff without her mom. And I know that is extremely hard. There are people who have, their parents have passed away. That's one thing. But to know that your mom is out there and they're choosing a life of drugs over you, that's very painful. But I will say, shout out to Marie's dad, because he stuck around, number one. And also, he tried to do his best to raise, how many of her brothers and sisters Marie may have. And he didn't go down the path of doing drugs. Because let's be completely honest, considering Marie's age, I feel like a lot of men were actually getting women hooked on drugs back in the day. But that's a whole other story that most people probably don't even want to have a conversation about. Nonetheless, Marie goes on to talk about how, like, as she was growing up, she witnessed, seeing her mom out there on the streets. And that is terrible. Like, honestly, drugs is one of the worst things that could have ever happened to the black community. And I definitely stand on that statement. I just wish that, like, at this point, people would stop doing drugs, especially considering we know the effects now. Like, this is no longer the 70s. Hell, even the 80s, where people didn't think it was that bad, and then we saw what it turned into. Yeah, let me just go ahead and move on. So Marie goes on and on about her life at this point, because she talks about how she was bullied in school. She talks about how, she had her first child, her mindset changed, how she's dealing with lupus. Like, she got everything off of her chest and what she's going through. And thank God she's taking this first step, because like that therapist said, she got a lot of work ahead of her, but hopefully she is still in therapy today. Let's go ahead and move on, because I honestly feel like that scene lasted so long. You have Letitia meeting up with So Gucci. So was I the only one who thought that So Gucci was having, like, a nip slip happen? And then I realized that maybe it must be a birthmark, because there was no blurring around it. But nonetheless, let's talk about why these two ladies met up. So we learned that Letitia is actually struggling with her PCOS symptoms. So she actually asked Gucci to, like, help her out and let her know, like, what are some foods and things that she can be eating that can help her symptoms. And so Gucci said she had, like, a full breakdown of, like, what Letitia should be eating and doing, all the way down to the snacks, okay? Alright, so of course they talk about the fight that happened between Selena and So Gucci. And it's interesting because So Gucci feels like Latrice is the one who set all of this up, and you can clearly see the influence of her husband, because now she feels like Latrice had way more to do with it than what, we saw on TV. She feels like Latrice had her hand in this whole situation with her and Selena. And I'm just like, girl, can you please take accountability in something? Please take a little bit of accountability. Because now you trying to lean in on it being Latrice's fault. Yeah, that ain't making sense to me. Because I don't think that anybody would want to mess up their own event like that. Nonetheless, you have Letitia introducing this idea of this peace treaty because, she wants to get all the ladies together so that way they can hash out their issues and we can move on. All right, so let's go ahead and move on over to Marie and Akeisha. They are developing a friendship, so they definitely talk more than they have in the past. So they briefly talk about how Akeisha is sexually frustrated because we already know her husband is back in New York while she is in Jackson for this show. So they briefly talk about what's going on with Ferris Street. She's basically still in that waiting zone, waiting for someone to say if she can go ahead and build on Ferris Street. Are they shutting down? I feel like she's been in limbo for a while trying to get, Ferris Street back up and running. But nonetheless, let's talk about how Marie is not feeling Tambra Cherie, okay? Because she basically gives Akeisha the rundown about how, Tambra is out here living a fake life and how, she was engaged to a whole different man before. So her and Letitia, they plan on meeting up with this man. Now, this man says that, he was Tambra's ex, and he did not realize that she was with Damon until he was watching a TV show. Because I guess at some point the relationships crossed over. Not really sure. But according to him, he has all these receipts on Tambra and all of this stuff. Now, Marie is making it her mission to figure out what the truth is. What does this have to do with Marie? Not a thing. But baby, it's drama for the show. Now, Akeisha, she actually believes that Tambra was with Greedy this whole time. She thinks that, Tambra wasn't lying about her relationship. But what's interesting to me is that, like Akeisha said, it's crazy how Tambra has a whole issue with Akeisha, and the girls who want to basically see your relationship fail and try to figure out what's the truth in your relationship, you still friends with them. Why are you still friends with Letitia? She brought a whole nother friend on the show just to call you out about not being in a real relationship with Greedy because they were dating him. And Marie didn't believe you that you was with this man, but you still in her face. Well, we already know that table is about to turn and things are about to change. So let's go ahead and move on. Here we go with Latrice. She meets up with Letitia and they talk about her wig event. Now, it is clear that Letitia has taken the stance that Selena is guilty of starting all the mess. And I'm just like, girl, that's interesting because I feel like both parties have definitely, played a part in this. But nonetheless, she ends up asking Latrice, oh, well, did you reach out to Selena? And she's like, yeah, I already talked to Selena. And what about So Gucci? Did you reach out to her? Did you check on her? And she's like, yeah, I checked on So Gucci. I texted her. And she decided that she was going to take a screenshot of what I said and resend it to me because basically she was trying to take that screenshot, send it to somebody else to be like, oh, look at Latrice trying to hit me up and see how I'm doing. Because you already know she has it in her head that Latrice has it out for her and that she set this whole thing up. So Letitia, she basically questions if Latrice set it up. She really let So Gucci get into her head to be like, Latrice set this up. And Latrice was like, if I wanted to set something up on So Gucci, I would have chose somebody else to do it, not Selena. And I'm just like, okay, I can respect that, especially considering they supposed to have this blended family. Why would I ask for her to, start messing? They got kids involved and all that. I get that. But baby, here comes Letitia again. She's like, well, you need to be mindful of who you invite to your events. And I'm with Latrice on this. I'm not about to stop inviting someone who has come to all my other events. If anybody who's not going to be invited, it's going to be So Gucci, because I wasn't hanging with her like that. So Latrice, she does go on a little rant about how these women go in on her, but it's an issue and she doesn't. I'm like, girl, where you going with this? Like, I feel like that little insert, we missed the beginning of that conversation. Like, there was some choppiness right there. But of course, Letitia invites her to the peace treaty, and Latrice says that she's going to come. So let's just get to the peace treaty, right? So Letitia actually has the girls come to a break room, right? They go in there, break things up. I feel like every reality show is going to have these women go to one of these rooms, but whatever. First off, I said, where did y'all think y'all were going? Because some of these outfits, y'all not here to break nothing. Like, the only person, at least to my opinion, I feel like dressed for the occasion was Akeisha. She had like a hoodie and like some jeans or whatever. Everybody else looked like they was going to multiple different events. And I'm like, so when they gonna break stuff? Y'all, they was sitting in some little side room. I said, wait a second. I thought we was about to like get our anger out, break some stuff. Child, we could have did this at Letitia's office. Nonetheless, here we go with the first topic. We got to start on the drama that happened at Latrice's wig event. Now, not Letitia calling Selena an intruder and saying that she attacked their sister as if So Gucci has no role in this. Like, she really acted like So Gucci was some innocent girl who was like, oh my God, why is she talking to me like this? And no, So Gucci gave that lady all types of attitude as well, girl. Like, it took two to tango in that situation. So she has this idea that they're going to have separate conversations. So they have one big table, and then she has like two other tables. So the first two people to have conversations is Akeisha and Letitia. And then the second group is going to be Marie and Tambra. Now, of course, we already know Letitia and Akeisha have their beef over Ferris Street. But Tambra is confused. She's like, why do I have to sit with Marie? Like, we don't have any issue. Oh, girl, you got one now. So, basically, Marie lets Tambra know that Letitia, as well as herself, met with Tambra's ex. Now, according to Marie, this man has receipts. According to Tambra, though, she's like, no, I have, a court case against him, or like she filed something against him so that way he can't, come around and all of this stuff. She know this man's done horrible things to me, all kinds of stuff she's saying. However, Marie is standing 10 toes down on what this man has said. Because she's like, no, I know that you filed this against him, but that actually got thrown out in the court and like all this stuff. And I'm just like, again, Marie, what this got to do with you? What happened to Jerez and his baby mama drama? What happened with all of that? What's going on in your life? Because now I feel like you're not going to be showing so much of what you have going on, but you're trying to show more of the positive things, like her going to therapy, you know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, Tambra gets pissed off, and I mean super pissed to the point where she's like, I'm gonna go call my attorney or whatever. And I'm like, what's so crazy in this whole situation is that Letitia is probably going to get out of this completely clean, even though she also met up with Tambra's ex. Because Letitia has been skating by from the last situation with Tambra. But we gonna see, y'all, because that is where the episode left off. Let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I will talk to y'all in my next review. Bye, guys.